She said it like it was nothing. Like she was passing the bread rolls or commenting on the weather. Just dropped it right there at the dinner table while the candles were still lit and the champagne was still cold. Your son isn't even yours. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just sat there holding my fork and looked at her. My name is Renata. I've lived 44 years on this earth without ever once thinking my sister was my enemy. Connie. My little sister Connie, who I helped put through 2 years of community college. Who lived in my spare bedroom for 8 months after her first divorce. Who I lent money to more times than I can count, and never once asked for it back. She was sitting across from me at my own dining room table. Her boyfriend Derek was next to her. Big guy. Arms crossed. And when she said what she said, he actually nodded. Slow. Deliberate. Like they had rehearsed this. Then Derek looked right at me and said, "If you disagree with any of it, the door's right there." The table went quiet. My son Marcus was upstairs. He was 13. He had no idea any of this was happening. I looked at Connie. Then at Derek. Then back at Connie. I set my fork down. "Perfect," I said. "I'm gone. And you can start paying your own mortgage. Simple as that." I pushed back my chair and stood up. But what none of them knew yet, what I hadn't said out loud to anyone, was going to change everything. I walked upstairs, knocked on Marcus's door, and told him to grab his overnight bag. I kept my voice calm. I told him we were going to Grandma's. He asked why. I said I'd explain later. He didn't push it. He's a good kid like that. While he packed, I went to my bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed for maybe 2 minutes. Just breathe. In and out. I needed to think clearly because what I was about to do next mattered. Here's what Connie didn't know, or maybe she forgot because she never paid attention to anything that didn't involve her directly. That house was mine before I ever met my ex-husband Raymond. My mother helped me buy it. The down payment came from a small inheritance my grandmother left me. Raymond's name was never on the deed. We talked about adding him once years ago, but it never happened. Life got busy. Papers never got signed. When Raymond and I divorced 3 years back, the house stayed with me. Clean. No argument. Connie moved in 14 months ago. I charged her $800 a month, below market, way below, because she said she was getting back on her feet after Derek lost his job. $800 a month. I have every Venmo receipt. She was a tenant. Not a co-owner. Not a partner. A tenant. And Derek, sitting there at my table nodding like he ran something. His name wasn't on a single piece of paper in that house. Not one. I sat there thinking about that while Marcus zipped up his bag down the hall. Something was starting to come together in my mind. We stayed at my mom's that night. Marcus slept in the back room and I sat at the kitchen table with my mother until almost 2 in the morning. I didn't tell her everything. Not yet. I needed to sort through it myself first. When I got home the next morning, Connie and Derek were still there. Acting completely normal. Derek was making eggs. Connie was on her phone. Neither of them said a word about the night before. That bothered me more than the argument did. I went to my room, closed the door, and started making calls. First I called Raymond. I hadn't spoken to him in almost 8 months. It was an awkward conversation, but I needed to ask him something directly. I asked him if he had ever told Connie anything about Marcus. About the circumstances around when Marcus was born. There was a long pause. He said, "Renata, I think you need to talk to your sister." That pause told me everything. So I started going back. Way back. I pulled up old text threads between me and Connie. I looked at dates. I looked at timelines. Marcus was born in the spring. Raymond and I had separated briefly the winter before, just about 3 months. A rough patch that we worked through. Or so I thought. I started doing the math in my head. Then I went further. I found an old email, one Connie had sent me years ago that I hadn't thought about in forever. Reading it again now with fresh eyes, the meaning was completely different. She wasn't just my sister living in my house. She knew something. And she'd known it for a long time. I called Raymond back that same afternoon. This time I didn't ask gently. I told him I'd found the email. I hadn't told him which one, I just said it. Sometimes you have to let people fill in the blanks themselves. He filled them in fast. Came out in pieces. Broken sentences. A lot of "I'm sorry," and "I didn't know how to tell you." But the story was clear enough. During that 3-month separation, the one I thought was just a rough patch, Raymond and Connie had gotten close. His word was close. I didn't ask him to elaborate. I didn't need to. Marcus was born 8.5 months after Raymond and I got back together. Raymond said he'd had suspicions for years but never said anything because a DNA test was never brought up and he didn't want to blow up the family. He said Connie had reached out to him recently. In the last few months. That's what started all of this. She had told him. Confirmed it. And somehow that gave her the confidence to say what she said at my dinner table on New Year's Eve. Like the truth made her powerful. Like she deserved something. I sat in my car in my own driveway for a long time after that call. The engine was off. The street was quiet. A neighbor walked by with a dog and waved, and I waved back like everything was fine. Inside I was completely still. Not angry. Not crying. Just still. Because I already knew one thing for certain. I was not going to react. I was going to plan. The next 3 days I acted completely normal. I made coffee in the morning. Said good morning to Connie. Nodded at Derek. Went to work. Came home. Made dinner. Watched TV. Normal. Calm. Quiet. Connie actually seemed relieved. I think she expected me to explode. When I didn't, she relaxed. Started acting friendlier. Even apologized once, sort of. She said things got heated on New Year's and that she probably could have chosen a better moment. I said, don't worry about it. And I meant it. Because I wasn't worried about that anymore. I had an appointment with my attorney on day 2. Her name is Paula and she's been handling my paperwork since the divorce. I laid everything out for her. The lease arrangement with Connie, the payment history, the deed, all of it. I asked Paula what a proper eviction timeline looked like in our state. She told me. 30 days written notice. No lease agreement beyond month to month. Clean and straightforward. Then I made a second appointment. This one with a family counselor who also handles DNA testing referrals. I wasn't doing anything with that information yet. I just needed to understand my options around Marcus. What was legal? What was smart? What would protect him? I didn't tell Marcus anything. He was 13 and he didn't need to carry this. By day 3 I had a folder. Printed documents. Dates. Receipts. Screenshots of every Venmo payment Connie had ever sent me. I also had that old email printed out and paper clipped to the back. Everything was quiet on the surface. But underneath it, the ground was already shifting. On a Tuesday morning about a week after New Year's, I came downstairs early. Connie and Derek were still asleep. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and pulled up my phone. I had one more thing to check. A few days earlier I'd remembered something small. Back in October, Connie had asked to use my laptop to print something. She said hers was out of ink. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But when I opened my browser history that morning, I found she hadn't just printed something. She'd been in my email. I could see it in the login activity. A session from my own home IP address, on a device that wasn't mine, going back further than October. She had accessed my account at least 4 times over 6 months. I took screenshots of everything and sent them directly to Paula. That changed things. That wasn't just family drama anymore. That was something else entirely. Paula called me back within the hour. She said depending on what Connie had accessed or forwarded, we might be looking at more than just an eviction. She told me to stop using that email account and to document everything going forward from a new one. I did exactly that. That same afternoon I had the eviction notice prepared. 30 days. Legally clean. Paula reviewed every word. I also contacted a locksmith, not to change locks yet, just to have someone on standby. That evening Connie made pasta for dinner and asked if I wanted some. I said sure. Thank you. I sat across from her and ate and smiled and let her believe everything was fine. She had no idea the folder with her name on it was already sitting in Paula's office. I chose a Saturday morning. Deliberately. Derek was home. I wanted him there. I wanted both of them to hear it at the same time so there was no version of events later. No, he said, she said. No, I didn't know anything about it. I came downstairs around 9. They were both in the living room. Derek was watching something on TV. Connie was scrolling her phone. Coffee cups on the table. Comfortable. Relaxed. I set the envelope down in front of Connie. She looked at it. Then at me. What's this? 30-day notice, I said. You have until February 8th to be fully moved out. The room went quiet. Derek sat up slowly. You can't just. She can, I said. Month to month. No lease. It's all in there. Paula Hendricks prepared it. Her number is on the last page if you want to call. Connie's face shifted. That relaxed expression folded in on itself. Renata. We're family. I know, I said. That's why I gave you 30 days instead of sending it through the sheriff. Derek started to say something about rights and how this wasn't legal and he'd look into it. I let him talk. When he finished, I told him his name was on 0 documents related to this property and he was welcome to verify that at the county recorder's office. He didn't say anything after that. Then I slid a second paper across the table. A printed summary of the unauthorized email access. Dates. Times. IP logs. Paula also has this, I said quietly. What happens with it depends on how the next 30 days go. Connie looked at the paper and said nothing. That silence was the first honest thing she'd given me in years. Connie and Derek were out in 26 days. They didn't make it to 30. I think once Derek actually looked into the legal side of things, he realized fast that he had no ground to stand on. They found an apartment about 15 minutes away. Connie texted me the day they left. Just said, "We're out." No apology. No goodbye. I changed the locks that afternoon. My mom called me a few days later. Connie had apparently told her some version of the story, her version. My mom listened to her and then called me and said, "I need to hear your side." So I told her. All of it. The email access, the eviction notice, New Year's Eve, Raymond, everything. My mom was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "She told me the same thing she told you at that table. About Marcus." I closed my eyes. "And what did you say?" I asked. She said, "I told her that boy has been in our family since the day he was born and nothing she says changes that." I had to hold the phone away from my face for a second. Now, the thing they found out later. Paula had forwarded the email access documentation to a cyber attorney. 2 weeks after Connie moved out, she received a formal legal letter. Unauthorized access to a private account is a federal issue. It wasn't a lawsuit, not yet. But it was real enough that Connie had to hire her own attorney to respond. That cost her. Significantly. As for Marcus, he's still my son. In every way that matters, he always will be. I'll decide if and when and how to handle the rest of that when the time is right. On my terms. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't fall apart. I just made sure that when the dust settled I was still standing, and that felt completely, utterly, and entirely complete.